Chris, what is our third main topic today?
This one comes from Victor K. Hey, Victor. Good morning, John and crew. Forgive me if this is something you've already covered, but I was hoping to get your opinion on these stories going around that WB is going to sell the Snyderverse stuff to Netflix so that they, and Zack Snyder, can continue on with his plans for the DC characters. This is one of the sillier rumors I've heard, but it is persisting. What are your thoughts?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Victor. Yeah. This is one of the dumber things. This is one of the dumber things that's out there. But to be fair, it's mostly built on rumor, right? And not even rumor. It's mostly based on a wish list. And there's nothing wrong with fans wishing for something, right? If you're a big fan of Henry Cavill's Superman, like I am, then it's okay for you as a fan to go, you know what I would love? Okay, DC doesn't want to keep doing that. Could somebody else pick it up and make it? Look, when Lucifer got canceled, when it was still on Fox, and Lucifer got canceled, it was one of my favorite things. Okay, can somebody else pick it up then, please? And thankfully, the skies opened and Netflix came descending down on a cloud and say, yea, verily, I am here to save you. And we had a couple more seasons of Lucifer, and that was great. So there's nothing wrong with fandom going, man, wouldn't it be great if like somebody else could then make this stuff? And for people who are fans of the Snyderverse, I get that. That's fine. I've been in the same place. However, there becomes a rationality fourth wall where you take wouldn't it be great if, which is perfectly good for all of us to do, to this can actually happen. It's great for your kid to want to run around and pretend to be Batman. But when the kid starts telling you, I need a shovel, Dad, because I'm going to dig my own bat cave and I'm going to go out later tonight and pick some fights with some local gang. You gotta say, no, son. See, this is great that you want to play in this imaginary playground. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But once you start thinking this is going to be real, we got to have a serious talk.
See, but I already branded Bobby. Remember how he brands them in the movie? Brands the criminals.
Oh, that's right. With the Ben Affleck one.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going around branding neighbors' people. Pets. Yeah, there might be a problem here. There is simply no way that this happens in any time in the foreseeable future. Now, I get it. All of us, there's no one group that's guilty of this, Rob. We all do it, right? Sure. We believe what we want to believe. That's all people do. I've done it. You've done it. Everybody watching this has done it. We tend to believe what we want to believe. We're victims to confirmation bias and all that kind of stuff. But again, I hate to bring it up again, but some of them, not all of them, some of these people are the same one that kept insisting that the Snyder cut was a completed real film to go out. And I would tell people right from the beginning, there is no Snyder cut. Like there's an edit of a film, but there is no version of a film sitting around ready to be released today. It would cost them millions and millions of dollars to make. They're going to have to reshoot some things and blah, blah. And everybody's like, no, it's real. And then as soon as they affirmed they were going to make it and they said it's going to cost us $70 million, we're going to start shooting, we're going to make it now. Then everybody moved the goalposts. Oh yeah, no, that's what we knew that was it all along. Sure you did. At any rate, that's different from this. This is not something that can even happen. All right. No, if you want the Snyderverse to go over to Netflix, that's awesome. There's a lot of things I want to, nothing wrong with that. But if you actually think there's any actual real chance of that happening, I got bad news for you. Those cookies and milk you leave out for Santa, yeah, your dad ate them. It's not really going to happen. Let's go over to the classroom for a second. I just want to kind of lay out a couple of common sense things here that we should all keep in mind when talking about this thing. All right. The first thing is this. DZ, David Zaslav, has stated that DC is of primary importance to WB. David Zaslav has been very, very, very clear that DC is the main pillar of everything. He's the first person that's ever run Warner Brothers that has acknowledged that hasn't treated DC like it's an afterthought. The new head honcho of Warner Brothers has said publicly many times and to shareholders, this is the thing that's going to keep our coffers full moving forward. This is what we are going to build everything around moving forward. And the very first thing he did was he established DC as his own studio. There is no chance in hell that he's going to be letting any part of the rights to it go. He also looked at what happened with Kevin Feige and Marvel for all those years, that they hit a rough spot a couple decades ago and they started licensing out all their characters. And then they spent the next 2 decades desperately trying to get the IP to those characters back. And they still don't have them all back. So that's one thing. Now, a second point to keep in mind, some people will point to the Spider-Man situation. Well, Sony can still make Spider-Man. Well, here's the thing. This is very different from the Spider-Man situation. With the Spider-Man situation, I read an article in Screen Rant, and they put this very well. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but basically the wording was this. The Spider-Man situation was infinitely different in the sense that with Marvel, you had an active, healthy, thriving cinematic universe with no Spider-Man. Over at Sony, after the collapse of the Amazing Spider-Man part they try to do, they had a Spider-Man without an active, thriving, healthy world to put him in. And they were able to cobble together a unique deal, which, by the way, even in that deal, there is no live action Spider-Man that Sony's doing and live action Spider-Man movies that Marvel's doing. Even then, it's not really applicable. So I've seen a lot of people try to point to the Spider-Man situation, but the Spider-Man situation isn't just fundamentally different. It's very DNA level. It's a completely different situation. So there's that. The next thing here is there's no upside for Netflix. A lot of people saying Netflix should buy the rights. How much do you think that would cost? I've seen people saying, look, I literally saw somebody write this. Look, just, get together $400 or $500 million, go and buy the rights from I'm sorry, what? That's adorable. That's adorable. When you start putting together the numbers, understand, if there was any reality, that David Zaslav would even entertainment, because as Ted DiBiase taught us all as children, everybody's got a price for the $1 million man, right? There's a price on everything, right? Even DC with David Zaslav saying that this is going to be our pillar thing. But that price is going to be in the maybe double-digit billions, okay? You think Netflix, by the way, Netflix has lost, how much money did they lose over the past year? $40 billion? $50 billion in their market cap? Anyway, so you're talking about having to put up in the billions of dollars to get the license and the rights to do it. Then you're going to have to spend in the hundreds of millions of dollars to make each individual film, which, by the way, you're making no money on. You're making no money on. How many hardcore DC fans do you think aren't subscribers to Netflix? I got news for you. Not all, clearly not all, but a lot of people who are diehard comic book movie fans and stuff like that, we love consuming media. We as comic book movie fans, we love consuming media. And if you're somebody who loves consuming media, you probably already have Netflix. There's just no cost analysis here. There's no ROI. There's no return on investment. This would just be Netflix taking wheelbarrows of money and throwing them into an incinerator. So there's no reason for Netflix to even want to do something like this. It's just not cost prohibitive. Now, I understand that our friends over at Forbes put an article saying, hey, here's why this could be a good solution. But people have taken that. That's just an editorial piece about somebody saying, one writer, it was Mark who wrote the article over there. Mark. And Mark Hughes wrote the article over there. That's just Mark Hughes saying, hey, you know what? I'm a fan of the Snyderverse. So here's why it could be a good idea. But the article is nothing about why it's actually possible, because it's not. So while it's fun for all of us to speculate about, oh man, wouldn't it be great if this thing that I love was able to continue on somewhere else? That's awesome. I do it all the time. But just don't let the blurred lines of reality, get in the way of thinking it's actually something that would even be remotely possible. Look, it's time to let it go. If I could, I would break into that Elsa song. Let it go. By the way, Zack Snyder's got this Rebel Moon movie coming out. He's working on something exciting. Why are you taking attention away from that? Why don't you put some attention on this stuff that Zack is making that looks like it could be a lot of fun, instead of downgrading what he's saying. Nah, let's not talk about anything that he's doing otherwise. The only value Zack Snyder has is if he's making DC stuff. Listen, he's got this great, cool looking thing coming out. Like, let's focus on that. Anyway. We want to thank one of the sponsors of this video, ExpressVPN. Guys, you ever hear of data brokers? They're the middlemen collecting and selling all those digital footprints you leave online. They can stitch together detailed profiles which include your browsing history, online searches, and location data. They then sell your profile off to a company who delivers you a targeted ad. No biggie, right? Well, you might be surprised to learn that these same data brokers are also selling your information to government agencies like the Department of Homeland Security and the IRS. And you don't want the tax man showing up your door because of some search you did on your phone. So mask your digital footprints and protect yourself with ExpressVPN. One of the easiest ways for brokers to aggregate data and tie it back to you is through your device's unique IP address, which also reveals information about your location. When you're connected to ExpressVPN, your IP address is hidden. That makes it much more difficult for data brokers to identify who you are. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of network traffic to keep your data safe from hackers on public Wi-Fi. So make sure your online activity and data is protected with the best VPN money can buy. Visit expressvpn.com/Campea right now and get 3 extra months free through my special link. That's expressvpn.com/Campea. Rob, I know you've been seeing a lot of this DC Superman rights going over to Netflix. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, first of all, it's absurd. Warner Brothers is not going to give the rights not just to one character, but to 5. And all the peripheral characters, if Jim Gordon shows up, it's ridiculous. Second, we are getting Snyderverse movies this year. We're getting 2. We're getting The Flash and we're getting Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Those are Snyderverse versions of the characters.
Well, not how they define Snyderverse.
Well, but Zack cast those characters, those actors, and those are adjuncts to the Snyderverse, which drives me crazy that what people are talking about is they specifically want a conclusion to the dark side story that Zack Snyder set up. We got fandom, Snyder fans. We got the biggest win of all time in the Snyder Cut of Justice League. We won. The victory was won. Don't buy it back, as I've always been told. We had that victory. And like you said, how disrespectful is it to Zack Snyder that his whole fan base that he cultivated has not moved over to Netflix with him? I saw a poster today online for Rebel Moon. It's going to be in theaters. They're going to release it in theaters. And I'm like, well, that's cool.
Thank you, Glass Onion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And it's like, why aren't people supporting him over there? Why didn't people support Army of the Dead in that offshoot movie he made? It's so weird to me because it's no longer even about Zack Snyder. It's become a thing that fandom can hang on to for their own edification, for whatever. And I'm like, it's not one thing. Zack Snyder's Justice League should have been finished. This was a crusade for art. It was a crusade for one man's vision, and I think it was legitimate. And the fandom made money for suicide prevention. It got the movie made, $70 million. Zack Snyder got to make it. It got an amazing home theater release. It was an epic win on every level. Take it. Take it as the win that it is. It's going to go down in history along with getting a 3rd season of Star Trek because fans did a letter writing campaign and saved that in 1968. Not since then have fans had this kind of a victory. We should all be proud. And then go support Zack Snyder's new endeavors. All this other stuff, like you said, it's taking away the emphasis on all the good work he's doing. He's not making just one movie, but 2. He's building a whole universe.
They're trying to make a whole, like a cinematic franchise around Rebel. The first one's got to succeed, but they've got big plans.
And the thing is, that's what Zack Snyder needs. If you like Zack Snyder, go support his new endeavor. That's what he needs. He needs people talking about it. He needs social media presence. He needs analytics for Rebel Moon to show Netflix how much you support your favorite filmmaker. That's what they need. This isn't going to happen over at DC. There's going to be no other Snyderverse. It ends with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And we're still getting 2 movies, and I'm excited about them.
Yeah, I mean, again, this new Flash and this new Aquaman are not Snyderverse movies. I mean, they are the extension of what came out of it. But here, you brought up a really good point. Which is, at this point, for a lot of these, for a number of these people, certainly not all, maybe not even the majority, it's not even about Zack Snyder anymore.
I know.
Now it's about agendas. Now it's about it's no longer about a love for a certain filmmaker. Now it's just about agenda with some people.
I kind of think it always was, but the veil has been lifted.
Well, yeah, the veil's been lifted. But anyway, Chris, you've been seeing this going around like that.
Yeah.
Can you see an actual way? Because, we haven't been studying this for years. I mean, this is still a really new thing. But can you see a way that, yes, DC will say, Netflix, you can go ahead and make DC movies with Superman and Batman. I don't know. Can you see that happening?
Anthropologists for years to come will study this moment. Oh my goodness. I mean, maybe all things are possible, right? But I feel like echoing you guys, this diminishes Snyder's worth as a filmmaker. When you only focus on this coulda, woulda, shoulda, it really diminishes what he can do. Like, I actually really liked his Dawn of the Dead in 2004. I love 300. And if I went, well, if he's not going to make more 300 movies, I'm never going to see any of his movies ever again. That would be really stupid, honestly. And I understand if you love the Snyderverse, good for you. That's great. But he's got to go make other movies. He's moved on from it. And during this time when he was making this movie in his personal life, something really horrible happened. So he's moving on from a multitude of things here and trying to heal on his own as well. So I don't think this is a really great thing to bring up constantly for him either. I just feel like if you want to support this filmmaker, go support his films as they're coming out. Like you said, Rob, go see what he's working on. Go check out those other movies that are still in the DCU that have the actors he cast, and then go support his endeavors for Rebel Moon and everything else he does moving forward. If he's moved on, I think you can too.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about all this? Could you see an actual, don't give me this pie in the sky bullshit either. I mean, can you actually see, have you recognized maybe some actual legitimate avenues that this financially could and philosophically work for Warner Brothers and a Netflix, that maybe there's a way that it could happen? If you do, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there.